Matt and yours. We are back. The Byron Nelson is here, which by itself not that exciting, but exciting because it means next week is Philly Crick, which means next week Boots, which means let's get excited for this week because once this week is over, the next couple weeks are going to be tremendous. How are you doing?
It's definitely one way to look at it. Yeah, a little bit of a filler before we get into some real fun golf tournaments these next few weeks. But this tournament, I would agree, very, very bland. But there's been some fun finishes here, to say the least. I'll obviously be watching. We'll be doing our content, doing our picks, stuff like that. But yeah, a lot to talk about the last week, and obviously this week ahead we have some fun golf. So I'm doing well, a little bit tired, but we have more dog than anyone in the world. So we're here potting like we don't skip a beat. Let's do it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think what took place last week is probably more exciting, more interesting to talk about than the Byron. But obviously, we'll get to the Byron. Obviously, we'll get to Liv. Liv's headed over to Korea, Jers. I think they're playing the course that Pablo won at. Did Pablo win at this course?
They're playing the course that Ben On won at, like the Genesis Championship. That they have those
Okay.
that Ben On hit that crazy driver off the deck to beat Tom Kim in the playoff.
Okay. Well, disregard
That's
that
your
because
that's your live preview.
Yeah, that's your Liv preview. We have the wrong Korean course in my mind, at least. Okay. Where should we start? Because it was a week where we had, for the first time ever, two guys that we talked to before the tournament started on Wednesday night. Probably the last people they spoke to before they went to bed. They go on to win the tournament. We need to talk about that. We had, as the people know, we had Riss on last week to take us deep into the LPGA, and we've been trying to get more into LPGA this year. I had the chance to watch the last 5-6 holes of regulation plus the playoff, which was some of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen. So we need to talk about that. We had a winner on the DP. Marco came through for me with no TV coverage. So we don't really have anything to talk about from there other than that.
Who knows if it happened? We don't know if it actually happened.
And if it didn't,
but the ticket cashed, though. The ticket did cash.
Yeah, the ticket cashed. And at the end of the day, with the DP, whether it happened or not, we've been wrong so many times that we'll take it. If it didn't really happen and Marco just won, because I was following the odds was like the only way to really keep track. And the odds also weren't updating because the scoreboard wasn't updating because it took like 15 minutes to update the scoreboard. So that was happening. And then Joaco's won again on Liv.
What a week in golf. What a week in golf. Where do you start?
And you didn't, just so that people know, you maybe didn't have the depth of eyes on the situation that you normally would due to a bachelor party in Scottsdale. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I can confirm. But I was playing some golf, was getting after it. But it was my first experience for something like that, so I had to go all in as possible. I was watching. I still have my phone out. You know, when you're on those trips, when you're doing your things, you have your little box in the corner watching the golf. So I was watching the Højgaards blast it left on 18. I was watching as much as I could with Liv, but didn't have the eyes as you did this weekend.
Yeah, and I think I probably I'm back in New York for at least a couple of weeks, and so I was able to get posted, get I haven't been watching on my TV. It's just different when you get posted up on the couch watching your TV. So I was able to make up getting some eyes across the different tours. But let's start with BG and BSB because we talked to them on Wednesday night. Unfortunately, I think we actually have to change the rules because people are saying the new flow chart is if we interview somebody the night before the tournament, you bet them. That's the new flow chart. We try to get our cards in, get our cards done early. I think on weeks where we're interviewing players, if that happens again in the future, we may need to hold off until post discussion to submit cards. Do you feel any regret? I know you were on the Højgaards, you had guys in the mix, but we literally talked to them and they literally did the tournament and we weren't on.
No, I don't really think I have any regret at all not being on them. It's more because I was obviously like them going into the week. They made a ton of sense. Bermuda, I was kind of trying to play it as a double-edged sword. I could hit a winner or we could have a pod winner. One of them, it's a Vic lap. I'm thinking ahead. We could Vic lap something and we're Vic lapping it. We had him on the pod. Then I'd probably rather have the money, but we had him on the pod. Vic lap for the Vince team. And I know a lot of the people in the Discord, a lot of the subs had them. So shout out to all you guys and a shout out to Ben and Andrew more than anyone because they were clearly the best team. Maybe a few questionable shots, but I think they were consistently the best team.
And to your point about, you know, the Vic lap, which one is more Vicable? I had more people, like people I know, not necessarily even subs, just like friends and things like that, who listen to the pod, who were texting me with excitement about this
Yeah,
situation, about them winning, than like whether we have a pick or something. So in that ways, it was super exciting just for like honestly the brand and the vibes. I'm wearing the Vince shirt, which obviously
hell yeah.
Andrew called out, BSB called out. It was a great shirt ahead of the week.
It's
So I
a
think
for
we need to,
sure.
that advertisement now is increased in value now that he's a Zurich champion.
It's
But
it's a great shirt.
yeah, that was funny. What I enjoyed and what I think, we're trying to get out of some of these like interviews is just ask some questions in a different way. Like try to dig into areas that maybe don't come up in conversation. We spent, I don't know, 20 minutes of the pod probably talking to them about their previous experiences in the mix, what goes on in their minds, things that they're trying to improve, and watching them play after just talking to them about all of those things just a few days ago was super compelling because like we knew that BSB talked about his pace of play being something that impacted how he performed and why he thought he played really well at RBC because he's a fast player. He wants to just walk up, kind of hit his ball. He was clearly struggling with the format in the final round. Like Dottie was calling it out so much that he wasn't going back to the tee like the other guys were.
He was out in the fairway. Yeah, that was
him and
weird.
BG weren't really talking. And it started to show in his performance. Obviously, he wasn't playing anywhere near the level that we've seen from him. And ultimately, it was Ben kind of in that final round who played better. And then Ben talked to us about being more aggressive in the final group, like keeping the pedal down. And ultimately, he was the one, I think, who hit those better shots, made that putt down the stretch. So to watch them knowing more about like what's going on in their minds, because that's the part of the game that we just don't get to dig in on a lot. We can go look at the stats, we can crunch all the numbers, but having that context and watching, taking betting out of it was just made it a fun watch for me. And I hope that people who are listening got that same perspective.
Yeah, 100%. I was definitely watching down the stretch, and I noticed what you just said. Andrew was just like not talking to Ben. He was literally like trying to guess where Ben's ball was going to land in the fairway so he could just go up and hit it right away. But definitely an interesting way to play the final round. It ended up working. A few shots that could have ended up wet that stayed up. But no matter what, no matter anyone who wins a golf tournament, you have to have those breaks and you have to be there first. And they did what they had to do to be in that position. Zero beef, well deserved. So happy for them, and I think it's just great for us as a brand going forward. At the cut, if we can get a winner, we're 100% hit rate right now. Like you said, 100% hit rate. Having players on the pod to go on the win.
How much
you cannot argue facts.
How much did they win? Hold on, I'm just trying to get a look here at what our boys pocketed last week because this is important. Because if we're gonna sell the next interview slot on a Wednesday night, they each won. I think they each won. I assume they both get this 1.3 million. And they had never won a golf tournament, Jers, before coming on the pod on Wednesday. So I think we start the auction for Tommy Lad at Philly Crick at like 200K. If Tommy pays us 200K, he comes on Wednesday night and wins the truest. He gets what, like $3 million? I'm just saying the math.
It's really not a hard formula. It's really black. It's black and white, truly. So we'll just have to have a conversation, and I'm sure it'll be an easy yes.
And we also can't forget that we had Kessler on, and then P. Reed finished there at the Masters. So we're just saying money. There may be something in the vibes of the new of Credentialed that is yielding results, and that's something that now we need to keep in mind because we have to get ahead of it. We can't interview BG and Ben on Wednesday night, not bet them and have them win the tournament. We need to be ahead of it next time. But like you said, I hope some people were on them. I hope some people got some value out of the interview nonetheless. And at the end of the day, huge shout out to them for picking up those first victories because it was so cool. You talked to them. Obviously, they said multiple times, like, all we care about is winning right now. Like,
yeah, they were very adamant.
Done everything we've wanted to do on the PGA Tour except win. We've solidified ourselves, as like playoff caliber players, guys who are keeping their cards year in and year out. They wanted to win. They did it. Unlocked so many things for them going forward. People are probably wondering how we treat them in the dog rankings because I think going into the tournament, I would have had Ben or I would have had a BSB ahead of Ben in the dog rankings. But Ben's final round performance. I think BSB would honestly agree if he came on again and said, how do we adjust the dog rankings from here? Do we put him in the dog rankings as a team? How do we approach the situation?
That's a really good question. I think they would. I think they're very even in the dog rankings if they were next to each other because they've both done it in different times of their career, and Andrew's been doing it a little bit more lately. But Ben had a nice finish. Andrew hit some questionable shots. Also hit some questionable shots at Hilton Head too. So I think it's a true look at the list and release a statement, then just do it live because there's a lot to go into this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna crunch the numbers, and it is possible we put them in as a team side by side.
Yeah,
in the dog
there's
rankings.
there's no rules saying you can't do that.
Because they told us they've never lost money as a team, and now they've never lost a golf tournament as a team. And at the end of the day, where do you want to roll them out at Bethpage? Would you have them go out first and take on, let's say it's, Rory and Shane? They just beat them. At this point, it's not a question of if, it's a question of where in the lineup does Keegan deploy our boys.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a world for both. I'd probably stick them in the middle. I don't want them having the pressure of having to set the scene or close it out, but I think they would play smoothly in the middle versus whoever, because they're probably going to be they're going to have to play the Højgaards again, just beat them. Going to have to play Rory and Shane, just beat them. So it's like you said, not if, when, and where.
Do you, in all seriousness, we know that Ben called out on the pod. I think there was a tweet earlier that we did of that clip where he said the goal of the season is to make
Ryder Cup.
And I think we both in that moment were like, whoa, man, didn't expect that. But you also don't want to laugh when somebody says that, I didn't see it, but now they've won this. They're obviously playing good golf. Do you think either of them have a legitimate chance, or at least they have hope throughout the rest of the season that they could do it?
Skill, talent, ability will only take you as far as your confidence will. If he's on there saying that, he obviously on our show and thinking that way, the sky's the limit because anyone can hit a golf shot. Ben Griffin can hit golf shots as well as a lot of people in the world. Who knows? And what I said a few weeks ago, everything has to happen first one time.
Everything has to happen.
Everything has to happen. Who knows? He could make the team, win a few points. I think there's a world. I really do.
He could win the Grand Slam next year.
What if he picks off another win? He's on the team.
You have to be in the majors to win the Grand Slam. It has to happen.
And he's there.
So, that's all I'm saying.
I'm excited to see them at Crick next week. I'm gonna bring the shirt for Ben. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to get some more guys on the pod because it was fun. I think people liked it, and obviously we couldn't have asked for a more exciting result off of it. So we appreciate, as always, everybody who supports the pod, and we got a lot of nice messages even before they won the tournament. I'm talking about the new podcast or the new show, Credentialed. So we're as always, really appreciate everybody. And what I was going to say about Ben, last thing, he talked about on the show, his new golf ball aligning with his ability to be aggressive with his long irons and still get at pins that are tucked. He hits the ball so high with his irons. If he, in a way, this is going to be, yeah, he's got Scottie vibes in his swing. I'm going to be honest. The really high hands and the whole body, you're what is going on?
The jerky movements.
The jerky move. Yep. But it's high hands and then a high-handed finish, and the ball just launches high. His biggest issue, as he talked about, and then the stats would back it up, was that big right miss. And I think stepping up there on 18 with water right, and he didn't really bail out. He hit a fade. He hit the fade off the left bunkers, and it was perfect.
I thought it was wet off when the tracer showed it at first.
It started slicing, but it wasn't. It was just a clean fade. And so for all those reasons, and as we also said on the pod, everybody knows the story about him. He was a top junior player. So good for Ben. I think the promise is there. I will say, I don't think either of them legitimately make the Ryder Cup team, but I don't think it's clearly an outlandish goal to have. And if he's got that goal and he's got ultimately for him, it's confidence. And we've seen him come close. He could have 3-4 tour wins if he played like he did yesterday in some of those previous performances. So shout out Ben, only on Bermuda. But if it was a Bermuda Ryder Cup, these guys would be
locks. Absolute locks.
Honestly, the Euros would probably fuck in a Bermuda Ryder Cup because they all live in Florida.
No, we could, but we can make a nice Bermuda team. If you and I, they should need to consult us if there was a Bermuda Ryder Cup. We'd have a really nice team.
We would just go to Publix and come back.
Just go to Publix.
It'd be
Publix in West Palm Beach. It's a mecca for
easy.
that.
Last few things on the Zurich. We don't need to spend a lot of time on the Zurich, obviously, but you had the Hojes. They were right there. Rasmus, was it?
Rasmus was not playing well.
We famously at Sawgrass confused the Hojes and lost some ball knowledge. And I'll say I haven't got that back. I cannot tell them apart. And we've watched the Hojes. I think I first hit Nikolai like 3 years ago at Raz Al Khaimah. Like, we watched the Hoygaards a lot.
Who could forget?
And I can't tell them apart. Could you tell who was hitting when you were watching them this week?
Yeah, Raz has had the beard a little bit more scruffy. So that's like the only reason why. And also, anytime one of them would duff a chip or skull a chip over the green, I was like, oh, that's Rasmus. We're good there. He was chipping and they kept saying he went to visit Joe Mayo on Monday to get some chipping advice, and he was chipping like worse than I've ever seen him chip. Luckily, Nikolai made some of those like 10-foot par saves or 10-foot birdie putts to save him, but I thought they were going to steal it. I really did. We were one revolution short on 17, and we got that lucky break on 18, and I really do think if BG didn't drain that on 17, the Hojes would have stole it.
Would you have given the money back if they had won due to the egregious drop on 18?
That would have been a conversation. I also would have been like, how did those balls on 16 and 17 stay dry from Andy Noves?
And that's fair. But
yes, no, you're right. That was egregious.
Like, guys get bad shots that come close to going in the water. You know, that happens. That was a disgrace. Like, I don't blame the Hojes. The Hojes, if they're going to let you do it, obviously.
And they're not guys that do that regularly. Like, they strike.
But that's just, and I think this actually leads in perfectly to the LPGA, because on the LPGA, the problem is they're playing 18, which is a par 5. And obviously there was a shit ton of people in the mix, and they put the grandstand like 2 yards off the back of the green, and all the ladies were just nuking it into the grandstand basically on 18. But we've gotten to the point where it's like, I get the ball is in play. It's in the deep rough. His line of chipping out is over the top of the hospitality. But I'm sure strokes gained, you could do the math on like how many strokes they gained by moving the ball from where it was to where it was. And like, at some point, there's got to be a threshold. If you gain like a full shot, basically, by moving your ball, we've got to come up with a better plan than that. Like, can we not draw drop zones that are like certain strokes gained comparison to where you were? We got to be smarter.
Yeah. That was at absolute best a par from like where they were. Absolute best, because it would have been a chip out, then hopefully whack one up there.
If you could even get it back to and you like with the water on the other side, how do you even like chip it back? Yeah.
So that's like a full, almost 2 strokes, I would say, and it was almost the difference. Like, it came literally, they lost by 1. So, and it didn't hurt, but I was like, wow. When he hit it off the tee, I thought it was gone, and I was like, all right, like, I'm gonna turn my phone off. Then BG had that putt, so. But good watch. I like the Zurich. The Zurich is such a fun week. We could do the Zurich like twice, maybe 3 times a year. I'd be down. Down.
They could do it on different teams. Different teams, different types of golf courses. And what we talked about last week was that, like, ultimately Shane and Rory weren't that threatening last week, because Rory doesn't. Why would Rory care about golf? Maybe ever again. But it was just a normal event from a betting perspective. Like,
great.
I didn't win. You didn't win, but 25, 28 to 1 golfer won. It was fun to watch. It was compelling. Like, I don't see why people treat the Zurich as, obviously it's different in a lot of different ways, but like, from a betting perspective, I felt it was pretty similar. The last guys I wanted to comment on was, I was on CD and Svenny, and it was the most CD and Svenny performance I've ever seen.
You need to talk to me on this, because I'm unaware of where you're going with this.
First, they started out.
Well, I'm probably aware, but
CD made 2 eagles in the first 7 holes on Thursday, and it was just like they were birding every hole. They were like 1 shot or 2 shots off the lead on Friday, going to 18, which was their 9th hole. CD hits in the water off the tee, double bogey on the par 5. Then they like almost missed the cut, but then they finished strong. Then on Saturday, they make their Svenny's rolling 55 footers on like every hole with the long putter now. Didn't even know Svenny had the long putter, but they gave me the performance of exactly what I would expect Svenny and CD to do. And that made it an enjoyable week for me, even though I ultimately didn't really
worth
have
the
something.
bet for sure. Yeah, that's exactly what I would expect from them.
Okay, LPGA. We talked to Riss, and he told us it was in the. I think he had it as like the 4th of the 5 majors on the LPGA, but still serious, still something that matters. And I tuned in with a few holes to go on Sunday, and I will already say this ahead of time, and I apologize. The pronunciation on some of these names is going to be tough. But the girl who's in first, the Thai girl, lady, what is her name? Juna Tagarn. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot, so it's not just me who's messed the names.
That's all you.
Okay. Well, she was in the lead. And first of all, the first thing that stood out to me when I was watching was we talk about the pace of play on the PGA Tour, and it was egregious yesterday. Freddie Caps, unserious player. Hit the ball, Freddie.
Frankie Caps.
Frank, I'm not even going to give him his real
Frankie
name.
Saps, actually, yeah. So
I'm doing neither.
Let's butcher it on purpose.
He's Freddie Caps to me because
Freddie Caps.
I know you weren't watching as closely. He stood over the ball and stepped away and stepped back in and stepped away. That's another reason why BSB had to be fuming. I would love to get BSB on the pod and ask him what he thought about Freddie Caps' pace of play, because it was a disgrace.
He'll show it on it. He'll tell you when he's
yeah. We need to get him back on the pod soon enough, because he does bring the honesty. He brings the honesty to the table. Maybe before the Masters when he debuts next year, we'll have him on. But
that'll be sick.
So she, I believe, had a previous major. She's in lead, but they're playing so slow. They ask their caddy, they go, "Where is the safe place to miss?" And the caddy says, "Short in the bunker." They step away, stand over the ball for another 30 seconds, and then step away again and go, "Where's the safe place to miss?" And the caddy again says, "The sand short." And so that was annoying at first. But the golf was compelling because this was tight. The leaderboard's tight. Did you see what happened to the leader on 18? It was a par 5 for people who didn't see. She nukes it into the grandstand behind the green, gets a drop. She's probably chipping from 40 feet behind the green. She's in average Bermuda rough, I would say. And she has a 1-shot lead, and no one can catch her if she makes par. So literally just chip the ball anywhere on the green within 35, even within 50 feet. Your chances of winning are probably astronomical. She legitimately moved it.
Misses
6 inches forward.
Yeah, it reminded me of Ben Coles at the Byron last year.
There's your Byron
connection.
Byron preview.
There's your Byron preview. Yeah, I was not watching it live, but shout out SportsCenter, did a great job of showing what happened in that LPGA final, because it was hectic. It was good television. But yeah, I did not see it live. I saw what she did. It was tough seeing. Pressure does a lot of crazy things, and as we've seen from across the golf. And yeah, clearly led to a massive five lady playoff, and it ended how it did.
Shout out Russ Henley. Shout out Adam Scott. Shout out who was the other guy in the Wyndham playoff? Our favorite golfer,
Kevin Kisner,
Kevin Na,
and there was
Summer
of Sloan, Roger Sloan.
And Brandon Grace.
That was a great week.
I was disappointed on the LPGA broadcast that they didn't reference that Wyndham, because that was immediately what I thought of. And so they go to the 5-way playoff. First of all, one of the women in the playoff is 34 years old and has never finished top 15 in a major, has never won on the LPGA Tour. So somehow she's in the mix. But the disappointing part comes when Riss had made one live ad. He went with I think he had like 4 people on his card. It was a long card, big card, high ROI. And before the final round, our boy added in Ronnie is the nickname. Ronnie Yin. From China. Major champion, I believe. And if anything I say about the LPGA is wrong, it probably is. And I'm learning. and I'm learning, but I believe she's a major champion. And I want to learn, but it's tough. Let's learn an entirely new thing. No one could hit this green in 2, and that's why everybody was nuking it into the grandstand, because the green was too firm. She hit such a pretty wood, like I don't know what wood it was, 5 wood, something like that, maybe even 3 wood. Landed it in the 1-yard slot that you could land it over the water. and stopped it 15 feet from the hole, maybe less than that, maybe 10, 12 feet.
Live fave.
Live fave. The Discord's going crazy. People are psyched. People on Twitter, unrelated to the Discord, are tweeting like clutchest shot ever. I saw so many tweets after the fact that had been sent before the fact of like quote tweeting the shot, like that's dog, that's clutch.
Comedy
like,
golf shot, Shane Gillis Netflix special.
Yeah, Shane Gillis Netflix special. And she jacked Jers. She 3-putted it. Another girl, Sago, who someone also in the Discord says sounds like a Coachella act, and I agree, it does, and it would probably slap. She had earlier chipped it down to like 3 feet, and there's so many coins on the green around the cup. It looks like one of those fountains where you flip your quarters into. Like there's quarters just all over the green because there's so many people
quarters
in this playoff
everywhere,
and everyone's around the hole trying to putt for birdie. Everyone misses, and then Saigo's just waiting, and she's like, "Holy shit, I'm actually going to win!" and just taps it in and wins. And it was some of the worst dog I've ever seen, but simultaneously, when there's terrible dog, it also means you're about to get something awesome. I've thought I've seen it all in the DP Jers. I thought I've truly seen the worst things that can happen to somebody to lose a golf tournament. I saw 2 that would put most DP events to shame. It was unbelievable.
I mean, we need to watch more LPGA, and we are. That's why we're doing this year. A great first major at 7 under wins. Like, we can't be upset about that. Say what you want about the golf course. We don't know too much, but Risk gave us a honest assessment. I'm in. I'm all the way in. And then we had that 18-1 sweat on Sunday. What more could you ask for? So great call, Risk. You got us in a playoff on our come on the pod, get us in the playoff. That's a win. That's a win for us.
Yeah. Shout out Wrist. Great call. Wrist is as anyone is. We're the same way. You're hard on yourself when your bets don't win. You know, when they don't hit, you want them to win, obviously. And when you're out there telling people about your bets, you really want them to win. You don't want to let people down. But we need to give a big shout out to Wrist because I got multiple messages from people who sent me messages saying how much they loved having him on the show, how much they want him back on the show. And obviously, Jers, we're going to be getting Wrist back on the show. And the LPGA rolls on. They're playing the Black Desert Championship this week.
They are. And they're calling it the same thing. They're like strokes gained and no originality. Like, you're just like, all right, this is the Black Desert Championship. We're doing it. So I'm excited for his card this week. Get to the site. It's free up there. It's another tour to sweat, another tour to cash. So let's do it.
On the bet cashing front, we mentioned it early in the pod. Marco, I've said about the DP this year, I felt like I was picking good picks on the DP. We've had guys in the mix basically every week. They never win. I was starting to accept the fact that I may go 0 for the year on the DP. We're back. Sticking to the 10x, 11x cards, being patient. I'm happy right now, mainly from like hitting a couple winners last couple weeks, is that playing this higher ROI strategy for the year that I've talked about since the beginning of the year. It's sticking above 20-1. And honestly, a lot of weeks I'm starting my cards at 40-1 or sometimes even higher. Like, long season, long way to go. We'll see how it turns out. But that's regardless of which tour it is. I think I'm starting to see signs of light of the tactics working out.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I like it. And you know how addicted to 7X I am. I might throw a few like 15, 20X cards across the tours this week. Just like a little sprinkle. Byron, the long shots hit at Byron. I don't know about Liv. That's a different story. And there's no DP this week, but just saying in general, maybe throw some do a 2-man PGA card, 30X, win just to get in the competition. Because as much as you want to win money, you want to beat the robot and you want to beat your friend Adam. So it's a season long game, and if you hit a winner with a high ROI, that's just more profit for the season. So long game, but shout out you. You're on a nice little run right now, catching. I think you're winning now in 2 of the 3 tours.
Yeah, I need to get one on Liv. Shout out. This was also crazy because I wasn't watching Liv at all because there was so much golf happening simultaneously. The Zurich was happening, the LPGA was happening. For this, I don't think this has ever happened in my golf betting career. I just opened up the app and all of a sudden Lucas Herbert was in second place and he was shooting like 10 under in the final round. It was the most Lucas Herbert thing that's ever happened. But yeah, you've still got the profit going. You've got the lead on the Liv. I've snuck ahead into positivity on the tour and on the DP. But I think I just really think, again, long season, long way to go, that, and this isn't, we never ever call out anybody, everybody do your own strategies, do whatever feels right to you. But I think just in general, probably like the greater Twitter community, the ROIs on the cards are so low. And it feels good because you know you're going to get a guy into the mix and probably come really close to winning a vast majority of the time if you've got a lower X card. But it's just so hard. And that's what I've said a million times. If you're amazing and you can do it, do it. But like I'm at the end of the day, I'm not amazing enough. Like golf is so random. It's so much luck
Yeah.
involved. And I feel like at the beginning of the year, I could have had 4 or 5 winners right out of the gates. Just the final round didn't go that
Right.
way. The last couple of weeks, the final round goes your way. And because of that, you got to play the long game. Really,
Yeah.
if you want to if you're going to do it every week like we do. And we always say if you're only betting the Masters, whatever, that's different. But I just I have to see a strong argument against that against that basically because it's too hard.
Yeah, it's ebbs and flows, and just sticking to your process all year round is definitely the way to do it. And I might dial back a little bit in terms of the higher ROI because I've been having some really close calls, like third place at Hilton Head, second place at the Zurich. So we're definitely close. Just like you said, you had some great picks all season long. I would say all of the picks are great. I finished inside the top 3, top 2 on the weekend. They're there with a chance to win. They don't always go your way. So you get one with a higher ROI. And I think if you're watching this and you want to learn something more about card construction, definitely shoot us a message, shoot us a DM because we're happy to share that experience. Give you a little calculator, spreadsheet, something like that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, always reach out for any reason with any questions, anything. Because at the end of the day, and I think this is one of the reasons people have said this before about why they enjoy the pod is like we're not experts. We care a
Never
lot. We
claim that.
focus on it a lot, and because of that, the open conversation about ideas about like how to approach things is ultimately why I enjoy chatting with you generally about like getting your thoughts. I've changed my perspective on things because you try some things, they don't work, some things they do work, but like that constant trying new things, figuring it out, because at the end of the day, like I keep saying, it's tough. It's a tough hobby game to have, but it is also the most fun thing that I can think.
You and I have constant ideas coming in daily, just for work, golf, business, flow charts, merch, every single day, constantly changing, constantly trying to be better. But yeah, always fun.
Okay, so that was last week, and it was a fun week. It really was.
Shout out Christopher Wrighton, by the way, potential Viking Cup runner-up at the Hainan Classic. Didn't quite get there. Got to get him on the watch list though.
How many strokes do you think Marco wins at Coil by?
You did say that. Absolute nuke city. Could win by 4.
Because the only reason I bet Marco is because, honestly, this is a shout out to you. And you assisted me on Marco because when I asked you on the pod the DP course keys, because I'd never seen this course before, and you said Bombers, I instantly thought Marco. And I think Marco came into the week first in distance and first in putting. What more could
you ask for?
What more could you ask for? And going to Quail, I think I'm declaring it today. And yes, I'm riding high. And I'll also say this is
Marco T40 generational lock.
Marco is my random year of the week at Quail. Don't ask me again on the week because I'll probably forget and change my mind. No, I'm sticking with it.
No, it's like 3 weeks away. We'll remember.
He's playing good too. And he got suspended for betting on golf. I would never want to support somebody more than Marco. He's one of the boys.
Get him. We gotta get him a shirt.
Let's get him on the pod. So that was great to see him overcome that and win. Good for Marco. Okay. The Byron Nelson. You hit Pendy last year. I was actually kind of frustrated because I had Knapp, who I thought for the first 3 rounds was the best player by far in the tournament. I felt really good about him going into the final round, and he played terrible. And Pendy won. Barely. Shouldn't have.
Very lucky.
But he did. But because of that, anytime, as we've said before, you go to a course where you've hit a winner before, I need to hear your perspective on how you ended up on Pendy last year, because it worked last year at triple digits. Is that where was Pendy last year?
100, 120, 110, something like that. Around that. Yeah. That was like 25, I think.
Triple digits on Pendy. How'd you get on Pendy? Are you going to be applying anything you learned on Pendy to this week?
Pendy was the last guy on my card last year, and I bet him because Jake Knapp was on the chart. I was going to bet Jake Knapp too. Jake Knapp was chart. I always wait till the chart comes out. We know the process. And he was there. I had to sub one guy out. There are similar numbers, and I went with Pendy. But for terms of what I'm looking for. And sometimes it's as simple as that. What I'm looking for, there's different ways to make it happen around Craig Ranch, in my opinion. You could hit it far if you really want to. You could also dial back and be really nice on approach, make some putts. I'm looking for a well-rounded or a guy to spike with a driver putter or spike on approach. There's no set in stone profile, in my opinion, this week.
So you're looking for somebody to spike in every category.
Yeah, just be generational.
Okay.
Because Pendy did not hit his irons well, if I remember
No, he didn't.
correctly last year. He drove it all right and he put it well.
So the thing that I think about is, like, at the end of the day, Craig Ranch is one of the most boring courses on the PGA Tour. It's
it's tough to watch.
I've watched it plenty of times, and I can't really remember any of the holes, which is always how I judge a golf course. How many of the holes do I remember?
True. I think I remember like 18. That's about it.
Yeah. But what I think is interesting is anytime the scoring is low, you're going to hear people saying birdie fest putting contest.
Yeah.
But it's this, and that is true a reasonable amount of the time. Not true this week. Craig Ranch, you score through your tee to green play. Like the scoring on things like the par fives, and if you're good with your long irons, like the approaches, you can like funnel the ball down towards the pin, kind of like what Riss was talking about in Houston last week on the LPGA. The last 4 years here was where the winner ranked on the week. Tee to green. Third, first, fifth, second. None of the average strokes gained putting here is not like a spike week, which is over 4 strokes putting. Guys who can do it tee to green, you just can score a lot because the par fives you score every single time. There's some drivable holes. You get it up and down every single time, or you hit a nice drive and you give yourself ego looks. It's one of those courses where it's low scoring, but it's low scoring because of the tee to green play. And I think what you just described with Pendy and how you're thinking about the course fits that. Like, you don't have to be the best off the tee. You don't have to be the best on approach. You don't have to be the best around the greens. But if you're solid kind of across the board, and
sounds like Novak.
It does sound like Novak. He would. Does he want to win back to back? Can he get in the tournament?
Do you want to go on the pot again? Because
text him and see if he wants to win back to back. Because I don't know why he's not here. And this would get him in the Masters for sure. I guess he's probably
he's in the Masters, right? The Zurich doesn't get him in. He got freaking Davis Riley and everything.
I don't think it got him in the Masters.
Right, you're probably right. Yeah,
but it might have. But yeah, just steady across the bag. If you can do spike in one area, all great. But a guy who can finish top 5 on the week tee to green. But the hard part is, like, you also would think that you'd think, oh, you know, a lot of the favorites win here, and Day was definitely a favorite. But the other 3 winners are triple digits.
Yeah, I remember that. Shout out Devo, by the way.
Great
what a call on Jason Day. I had Siwoo that week, so it was a nice little sweat. Maybe I'm a good Byron better Siwoo than Pendy.
Those are good bets too, because Siwoo and Pendy are guys that you could bet every single week, and you don't really know when or why to bet them, or when or why they're going to play good.
Right.
But to have both of those guys play good. Didn't you have another random guy? Did you have Eck in the mix a couple years ago?
I don't remember.
By the way, Eck.
I don't remember.
What do you think about 75-1?
We saw. I mean, I saw him in Hawaii. He missed every fairway at Kapalua. Has he been driving it? Has it still been really bad? And then the approach play has been bad too.
It's good.
But what about the approach play?
At RBC finished T32. He gained off the tee and approach.
That's what you want from Eckroat. 75-1, 2-time to be a shorter winner. Oklahoma guy.
That's the crazy thing. And he's only played here once, and he was T2. So
what?
I just was wondering when you mentioned
and he had his best approach week, 1.9 an approach since January. His first win came on a random pop approach week after that. So if he finds it, he can find it quick.
Yeah, he'll be in the fairway on every hole.
That's accurate. So I guess we're both on him. Pick of the pod.
Yeah, I was just when I was finishing the write up earlier, I was like,
heck.
He's won twice in like the last 16 months.
Yeah.
So he could finish. He's one of those bets, and I think, to be honest, I don't know if feeling this has ever led to somebody winning, but it makes me feel good. Is a guy where even if they finish last place, you're just like, I'm down. And if it goes terribly wrong, you don't feel any regrets. That's kind of how I feel about Eck at 75-1. I'm also probably biased because I hit Eck at like 55 or 60-1 at that Mexico event in the fall. Yep. And it was for the same reasons. It was just like, why are X odds this? He can win.
Right. Makes sense. It's
a short dog field, Jers. When I was putting together the top 30, I was only able to use a handful from the global top 50. So low dog field. Scottie's here.
Scottie is here.
He is right now. You can get plus 305. There's a little bit of drift happening from our friends at Bet Online. Obviously, Scottie should win anytime he plays golf against players like this. We've talked about
this is a massive moment of truth week. Massive moment of truth.
This is career on the line.
It's a career on the line week.
Okay.
What'd you say?
No, I was saying, is his career on the line if you win or lose this week?
Yeah, because I wouldn't say win or lose. It's how does he play? If we see frustration from a field like this, course like this, we're gonna know quickly. But he should cruise. Like, how does he shoot worse than like 66 every round?
He probably can't because right now, how mad do you think Scottie is when he looks at the list of winners on the PGA Tour and it's guys like Tommy Dietz? It's guys like our boys now, BG and BSB.
We know his family knows about Vincerex. We know his family knows about the dog rankings. They're probably checking the list and seeing these winners.
He's probably worried because he had and now like we talked about last week too, guys like JT are winning. Rory has the Masters, the Players, and Pebble. Rory is now doing to Scottie what Scottie did to Rory and everybody else last year. He has to be so frustrated. He probably hit 8,000 golf balls a day.
Minimum. Yeah, without Scottie market.
You're going without.
Yeah, without high ROI.
I'm given the without serious.
I'm not. Why mess with it? This is an event that he hasn't checked off yet. He probably wants to. Texas, sure. Without.
He's the only way you could come up with a reason to feel any confidence against him is he's never gained putting on these greens, and his brain could be broken on these greens.
He also is putting as best as he's ever put in his entire life right now, though.
No, I know, and that's why I'm not gonna weight that very heavily whatsoever. But if I'm looking for a silver lining, it's
he's played this event a lot. Well, Craig Ranch 1, 2.
He wants to be a Texas merchant, but he's not. He's like Billy in Florida.
Right. You're right. Yeah, I think I'm still gonna go without because there'll be value.
I'm gonna think about it.
I know how easily I can hit a runner up so easily. And if it's Scottie,
except the 2 times you've bet without, you hit the winner and then you got 3rd place. So who
been on the second time?
Tommy Ladd and then Lude.
Yeah. All right. We'll TBD then. The cards will be up Wednesday morning probably.
Also, the live people are throwing things.
We did our live review.
But what I was going to say was, what was I going to say? I lost it.
That Bryson's dog has to be questioned.
Yeah, what's your State of the Union there? Because people were asking in the Discord.
Back-to-back weeks on live. Masters is something different. Blew the lead. Very in question. I wasn't watching. I heard he lost his ball. I was also, if you go to Scottsdale for 4 days and you're from Florida, bring chapstick because I am going through it right now. What happened? Did you watch any where he lost his ball in the back-to-back events where he blew a lead where he should have had it, he's driving greens and now he can't. He shoots over par. What's going on?
And what is going on with Joaco? Because I don't know how I had a connection. This one, I'm going to try to remember it because I'm going to say this and people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I had a connection between what happened in Mexico and Scottie, but I can't remember what it was.
A great season, a run beyond belief, the best live season of all time.
I'm going to stick by my guns and bet Joaco at Coyle. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh yeah, you were strong about it. Yeah, fair.
It just makes no sense. He hits shots that are so comically good, and then he shows up at the majors and he plays like if he hits it in the rough, he has to go to jail for the rest of his life. Just relax
for 1 second.
Let's get him on the pod. Let's get him on the pod before.
We could. One time I DM'd his caddy on Instagram after they lost the Rocket Mortgage. I was like, keep your head up. You guys are doing good. And he responded. So I gotta get back to that.
Being in Joaco's crew would be sick too, because those guys, you want to see a group of people who look like they're living great
Their
lives.
best life.
Joaco's crew who follows him around. Everybody's got like the nicest watch you've ever seen. They're all like decked to the nines and like athleisure, chilling. Absolutely chilling. No one's even doing anything. They're just there for the vibes.
No.
Joaco's getting paid so much and making so much every week. He's minting checks week after week.
What
after
a
week.
life. What
so
a
good
life.
For Joaco. I'll try to remember what I was going to say because it was going to be compelling, but it might be lost to the ether. So Scottie's here. We'll see on the with or the without market for Scottie. So when we give these odds, think about it as if it's the normal market, but you're going to, shrink down these odds a little bit if you end up going with the without. Spieth and Sung are kind of the clear next two guys. And honestly, Spieth more than Sung. Any interest in
why? I don't know why I would put all my eggs in a basket in an event like this. We've seen Day and Siwoo do it as one of the more favorite guys, but still, I think they're too volatile and there's too many hungry golfers down the board.
I can't bet Ben on except on firm Bermuda golf courses now after talking to him, even though this course makes a bunch of sense for him.
He did admit to that. We have to see what the green surfaces are at the Korea golf course because he won there.
Probably some sort of Bermuda, Zoysia type of Paspalum, maybe.
Yeah, so this is not Texas for sure. But yeah, I'm probably he told us what he likes. He did. And it checks out.
Which of the 30s players do you like the best? Pendy, trying to go back to back, which I know is fundamentally against what you stand for as a golf bettor. Siwoo, fresh off the performance of the RBC. Burns, whose career has really taken a turn for the worst. And yeah, those three. You have to pick one. Or do you just say, no, I don't want any of them?
It's a tough range. I would probably say no between all of them. I feel like people are gonna see a 30 on Burns and be like, "Oh, Burns, he's played well here before, but he career on the line." Them two, Scottie and Burns, they'll probably play together too. I'm gonna have to pass. This is build a name. This is build a card with names.
Yeah, we need Sam to play better. We really need Sam to play better.
But we'll see him next week, and you'll give a State of the Union and address it.
Yep. Okay, so that means we're getting close to the 40s. We're getting part of that range where it's not as much about one specific guy as when we kind of break down the guys at the top of the board. Who has your interest right now? Once we get in kind of 40 to 1 and above.
Jaeger, I can see him being popular, playing good, playing confident. I just like a golf course like where you could just send it if you really want to make a ton of birdies. Jaeger will probably flirt with the first round lead. Will Zalatoris is going to play really well this week. He's not going to win, but he's going to play well. And then the Horgards, I'm not saying I'm going to say either of them. Perpetuity though, they're probably down a little bit further, but yeah, those four names.
Rasmus and Nikolai are
Fake 50s.
Rasmus is 50 and Nikolai is 66.
Perp.
Tom Kim. Imagine a few months ago being told Tom Kim would be 60 to 1 at the Byron.
Too much pressure. He's a winner. He's going to be playing in a big group. He's going to try to have this Dallas crowd going. He's going to try too much. I think there's a lot. I can see him playing with Scottie, trying to chase him. He's not there right now. He's a little lost. I
don't think I'm going to bet him. And I think my Tom sense is up there. When players have senses, I feel like I got a good Tom sense. I don't really, maybe I've been him once since Pebble, but I agree. It's just, it like hasn't really been there for him. All I'm going to say is we talk about Tom. All he cares about is beating Scottie. Yeah. And if Scottie is the only guy to beat this week, I could see Tom just magically playing good purely on vibes of wanting to beat Scottie.
He is good enough as a golfer to do that.
Yeah, he falls in the category of could randomly play good.
Yeah.
Which we saw from a guy like Hovland a few weeks ago, and he won. Now, TK, I don't know if he's I don't want to say he is a level of golfer of Hovland, but from a winning perspective, TK's got plenty of victories on the PGA Tour. He can do it. My boy Ryan Gerard, 65-1. Probably not going to bet it. I don't know,
I don't
but
mind it.
he is good at golf.
Good at golf.
BG told us that of all the people he knows, Ryan is up there in dog. So it's hard for me to hear that and not factor that in. Crazy run of results for our boy Rio.
Yeah, I bet Rio a ton.
He's down to 75. That's why I was flagging. Like he was up there in the high 200s as of late. But it was great to see him. And was it Takumi he was playing with?
Yeah,
that was generational.
Or was it Rakuya?
Oh fuck, who was it? There was so much golf last week. Tough to keep track. Rio played with.
They fucked up on 17.
Hard.
They played with. He was Takumi. It was Takumi.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Dude, T18. Holy shit. They were playing so well, like top 5. They were like runner up. They were second. And then they finished T18. Finished their last 3 holes at 4 over, or like the last 7 holes 4 over.
They took a stack of money and threw it directly in the garbage. Which for guys of Rio and Takumi's like status on the tour, you really don't want to be doing that. So that's frustrating for them, frustrating for the DP, frustrating for the Japanese tour. But
shout out to Linda and Bikes.
To who?
Shout out to Linda and Bikes.
Oh yeah. How did you feel about that?
So Linda's good at golf. He's really good at golf. And he's got some dog. He's getting the crowd into it. I like we've been high on Celinda forever. I'm not gonna go back on that. But T8 played great all week. 58 day one. Like they're good. Celinda's good.
I'm Vic lapping my Smalley take that he was going to miss a shit ton of cuts after the Players. He's missed 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5 cuts in his other.
That was a great call.
Was a T63 at Corrales. I'm only bringing this up because he's finally drifted to 80-1. He started to be like near favorites in some of these events after the Players result. But as I said in that moment, I said, Jers, he's going to need some time to regroup. This is going to have zapped all the possible energy and commitment that Alex has, because he played amazing and he fought for so long, and we were so proud of the performance, but he was going to need some time to regroup, and we have seen that to the T. And he's been a player in his career who ebbs and flows between good and bad. But you want a guy who can spike in all the T to green categories and is kind of good at everything and not consistently great at one thing, but could spike across the board. Alex Smalley.
63 on Thursday, 63 on Sunday from being 6 back, and he could backdoor it. That's the strategy.
You will know if Alex has any chance after like 9 holes. If he's 4 under through 9, you're good. If he's even to over par, pack your bags. He's not coming back from that.
I'm with you.
What about Sam Stevens? Another friend of the pod.
We both like Sam Stevens a little bit this week, and the stats aren't great from Stevens, but I think they're trending in the right direction. And of course, fit-wise, I think this is one of the better course fit-wise. He should be confident going into this week. I do have a weird little feeling about Sam Stevens, and he's usually at unbettable numbers, like for whatever reason. But you can click him this week.
I might be, as we've talked more, because sometimes we were saying a few minutes ago, I come into the conversation of the pod not entirely sure what my tactics are going to be for the week. I could start my card with Eck at 65 or 75 and just go up from there.
27 guys.
Do you think I know there's a statistical answer to this, but if you're going to do that, would you rather would you rather have like 20 guys against Scottie in the normal market, or would you rather have like 8 guys in the without market, but you have to finish
8.
Yeah, and I think that's where, going back to talking earlier about like card construction, I think picking higher ROI cards this year has forced me to narrow in more. Like on a guy, when I just look at them and I'm like, why am I betting this golfer? They can't win.
That happened. Yeah, you're 100% right. I need to do that this week. Like, I'm gonna bet Nico Etch at like 110 because he does. Nico Etch was 110 and Keith Mitchell was 30. Keith Mitchell withdrew, but insane.
how big of a sigh of relief were the bookmakers when Keith withdrew? Like these are people
I got like an alarm on my phone.
yeah, they had their plans canceled for the week. That happened, and they're going out to the living room. They're like, "Honey, dinner tonight. Like we've got no plans. Let's go to the bar.
Yeah,
Like let's hang out," because their weeks just got so much better now. They don't have to stress about Keith being in the field.
makes sense because as much as he wins, I get it. I do get it.
So we're talking deep down the board. There's only one thing that we could talk about. It's random year of the week. I know you just mentioned Nico Etch. I know famously a few weeks ago you went outside of Europe. You came back to America for your random year of the week. I think you do best when you stick with a true European in random year of the week. Who would you have your eyes on in that department?
Crystal Lamprecht
Okay.
doesn't get many starts, and we've seen him take advantage of some starts. He's not been playing great on the Corn Ferry Tour. Had a good start to the season on the Corn Ferry Tour, but I do like him to just take it. He can take advantage of his tee to green ceiling on a course like this. So I think Christo. Not even sure how he's in the field, but I think Christo can make it happen here.
And what I like about that selection is I told you to focus in on Europe, but that was the wrong thing for me to advise because all 4 winners of this event have been strokes gained international. 2 from Korea, 1 from Australia, and 1 win coming from Canada. So the President's Cup team on the international side is racking up victories. And so you went to South Africa and selected another international player without even knowing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I did know. I kind of just was not really thinking of what you said, honestly. So that's my fault. But one of my best random Euros was probably Corey Connors, at like the first week of his run, and then obviously
was that Bay Hill?
Can't forget. I think that was Bay Hill. Bay Hill. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with Christo for sure.
I got a few. First of all, before I get to that, Harrison Endicott's in the field, and
wow.
Remember what Bud Scottie said? He said that when Harrison thinks he's the best in the field, he plays well. Scottie's in the field. He's probably not feeling that this week.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a take. But I hope he plays well because he hasn't gotten a lot of tour starts. So we need Harrison playing well. I think he's come back from injury. So in all honesty, wishing him well. But I'm now
T10 last week on the KFT.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. He's playing good. We owe it to ourselves. But Scottie wasn't in that tournament.
No, you're right. He was definitely not in the Corn Ferry last week.
He has been playing better, for sure. I mean, he just came back from injury 2 weeks ago, and he went cut T10. So I'm rooting for him. T52, yeah. T50. I'm changing my tune as we talk about Harrison. That the upside might not be there because he declared he can't play good, but Scottie declared he can't play good unless he thinks he's the best player in the field. But he might think he's better than a lot of these guys for a top 20.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair.
But my random Euros I was going to, first one, Francesco Molinari. How many times have we come on here and said Francesco's like there on Friday afternoon in like T2 and he ends up T48? But
Always.
He was T17 here, the only other time he played. And he's made 3 of the last 4 cuts. Give me Francesco.
Yeah, I don't mind that. He somehow still plays some nice golf. I'm down.
Where did the heavy ball combo of Rosner and Ventura finish?
I think they missed the cut. Oh, they made the cut?
They made the cut. Dude,
steady. 61, 71, 69, 70.
Roz has just been steady writ large this year.
I like them both this week, actually. I do.
Dude, Roz's stats or finishes are kind of funny. He's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight cuts since Mexico. And he hasn't finished in the top 30 any times. But the last 2 weeks have been his best finishes. And he can get it going tee to green. He's actually played this tournament before. So Roz was going to be my second random year of the week.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all.
Anything else from the Byron Nelson that's catching your eye? Anyone else on the board you're going to be?
Yeah, I'll say Jackson Super likes an easy golf course and friend of the program. He will be on the pod one day. I'll close it with Subs.
Nicholas Norgard was popping in the stats for a while. If Nick Nor was going to play,
is he still like what's his odds are now? Because remember when he led them 35 to 1.
Yeah, he 125 to 1.
That's better. That's fine.
Would you rather have Jespy or Nick Nor at over 100 to 1?
Jespy driver putter to the max. His iron game has been tough, but and he might be a Bermuda guy though. But I don't mind either of them. I think I'd go with Nick, actually. I'd go with Nick.
Did you know that this year is the final year that this is not a Bermuda guys course? They're switching the grass next year, Jers.
Wow. There's too many Bermuda events.
It really is. But Ben Griffin, like every time there's another Bermuda event added, he pencils in like another 100K into the savings account. He's just like, easy. We've made it this far. And I've been trying to remember what I was going to say about Live, because that's the only other event of the week is Live Korea, as we mentioned. How did you feel? Because what I need is the State of the Union on your single bullet strategy on Live. It has never worked. You've hit plenty of winners not doing it. Why do you keep doing
it? It's been close. I did it last week.
It's always going to be close. John Rahm's been top 10 every time he's ever started on Live.
This is only the second time I did Rahm. I did single bullet Bryson. He was the 54 hole.
Last year,
36 hole.
You bet Rahm. How many?
Oh, last year, yeah. Last year I bet Rahm like every week.
Overall, you're on Live bets.
I don't know, because every time I make a Live card, I like do really well. But then I have a feeling that, oh yeah, this course makes sense for Rahm. Rahm should finish T3 or better, and he probably will finish T3 or better. Which I kind of like on this week too, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry.
Because I also need your opinion on something that I'm now doing. I've been betting Brooks every week, and I'm sticking to it. But this is probably the most I've ever done something that you would do, which is like just pick something and just 100% put your like gusto behind it. And I usually tell you not to do that and that it doesn't make sense. I'm now doing it. How do you feel about my Brooks every week? Because he's playing terrible.
Stick to your guns. Like you would own it at the beginning of the season if it didn't work. You'd be like, all right, I'm confidently doing this. I don't care. Like I'm doing it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But stick to your guns, because you'd be sick if you got off of it. Then it worked. I'm not saying that like also like I'm gonna keep betting. I don't have a thing like that with single bullet Rahm, but I've just bet him here and there. Last year was different.
And famously, the most famous of all of these is can't lay until the open.
Can't lay until the open. Yeah. Not great.
Well, next week, since we always save a surprise. We don't always save a surprise for the end, but we like to give a little Easter egg to the people who stick around for the full pod, not the skipper headers. Next week, joint boots, Jers, at Philly Cricket Club, a course that has never hosted a PGA Tour event. This is our bread and butter. We've been waiting all year for the opportunity to apply boots at a course we've never seen before. The reason that I'm going to this boots and not you're going to solo boots at Quail for us is I can't go to both, but we can only pick one. Picking the new course has me more excited because, as we said before, that's the only way to get that information. So I'm super excited for that. And we're going to be inside the R together for the first time ever, which that's exciting.
Yeah, we've never been inside the R together, and we've been wanting to for a long time. So shout out PGA Tour. We appreciate your support of Zurich, and we appreciate your listening support, because we would not be able to do any of this without you. And this is a massive week. This is, like you said, our bread and butter. This is a new course, never before seen course. That's like the true ethos and start of boots, is going to new course that no one's ever seen. We have that in 7 days. So massively looking forward to it. Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, home games for pseudo home game for me, pseudo home game for you too. So
pseudo home game for Matt Fitzpatrick.
Pseudo home game for Matt Fitzpatrick, not far from the Jersey Shore. I'm
very excited. Very excited. I would say I'm as excited. And I'm not saying this to like hype up boots or like anything like that. I'm purely saying from within my heart what I am looking forward to. I might be most looking forward to this as I have to any boots. And it's exciting because it means that it's the start of true boot season.
True boot season
is the core major season. Can't wait for Oak. And I truly am counting down the days until Royal Ports, because that is going to be a life-changing experience outside of anything that happens on the golf course. It's here. Yeah, and definitely head to the site, grab a Zurich shirt, grab a Zurich's boot shirt for Quail and for the rest of the majors. They're good stuff. Show them the shirt before we head out. Yeah, one more time, the shirt. Zurich, clean, nice material. There's some stuff on the back too. A nice little it's the VNCX. It looks nice. But yeah, you guys have been working hard on the shirts. It's a great shirt. As I've said, yeah, at the end of the day, it is just comfortable to wear, whatever, no matter what it would say on it. And I noticed when I wear it out, like I wore this shirt out on Saturday night because I have like 4 of these shirts. So that one's now in the laundry, and this is a fresh shirt. Went down to the East Village, was back in New York after being in SF for a while. And I wore the Vince shirt, and my girlfriend was all dressed up. She was wearing like a dress and stuff. But when people looked at us, they were like, "Oh, that's a cool shirt. Like, this guy's cool.
Clean.
It's clean. It's
Cool.
crisp." Yeah, like he doesn't need to be wearing like a button down or anything like that to fit the vibe. The shirt, and not all t-shirts are like that. And so I was happy and I say this as somebody who's you were hyping up the shirts, and you've kind of been leading the charge. I was like, yeah, let me test it out. I'm a happy buyer of the Vince Eric shirt.
It's great to know, and I think we should change the caption in the merch store to like whatever it says now. Just it's a great shirt, Andrew Novak,
PGA Tour winner.
We're doing that. We're doing that.
There you have it, folks. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Good week this week at the Zurich. Liv is up. If I ever remember what I was going to say about Liv and Scottie, and make the connection,
It'll be on the site.
It'll be on the site because I'm disappointed. Usually, there's been plenty of times where I forget something that I was going to say on the pod because we're just firing a million miles a minute. This is the first time where it never came back to me. So if it does, be on the lookout for that. Yeah. And then it's Boots Philly Crick. Get on the train, take it down to Philadelphia. You're going to drive over. It's going to be generational. I can't wait. I'll see you there. And we'll probably, we'll pod on, we'll see. We'll let the people know. We'll let the people know.
TBD.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Peace.